Bam.
Hi, everybody. This is Grant Murrell, and you're watching the Break It Down Show.
I love it. We met at SpyQ this past fall, and we got a chance to at least briefly chat with one another. But I guess the first thing I'll ask you is, well, one, thanks for coming on the show. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and all those things. But also, what did you think of the SpyQ concept, the conference, and what you were exposed to outside of what you already know?
Okay, so the content you say, or the concept?
The concept and conference itself, the things you were exposed to that you didn't already show. Yeah.
Great question. Thanks, Pete. Firstly, I mean, I know a lot about the background of those guys. I put those guys together back in the day. But the concept of it is a wonderful concept. And it's the efficacy which I love of this. And it has taken, obviously, all of the skills, or the skills that can be shared with the public, from spycraft, espionage, etc., using all of that and bringing it into everyday life to use everyday folk in their worldly life of relationships, business, career, everyday interaction. So you can use those world-class skills in your everyday life to improve the footprint of the life that's left behind us. And I think that's so important. That's what I loved about the concept of it. And that comes from the best intelligence agencies in the world. As we say, the alphabet soup of intelligence agencies. It was the stuff from that, all distilled, put together in a very usable format. And that's something which I love. So that was the concept. The content, you remember, Pete, I mean, it was really wonderfully diverse, wasn't it? It was so great, from anything from styling, which of course grooming, it builds authority in the marketplace, etc., etc. This is something that comes into my work an awful lot, getting these things right. It comes from the hard skills of learning this, learning that, the discipline, the mental discipline, the approach, working on yourself, which is absolutely pivotal in all of this. It's, you can learn any skill you like in the world, but if it's coming from someone who is not congruent, who is not walking that same road themselves, has not mastered themselves, then they aren't going to master anything or be able to lead anyone else successfully. So I think that's really important, that you've got these different skills. So you've got the hard skills, you've got the soft skills, and of course we spoke about something that's really important in my world, which is emotional intelligence, because that's the part. It's not the black or white, it's the shades of grey. It's how much. It's as required. It's all these subtleties, and that comes into reading people and human behaviour and all this stuff that we know about. So I think that was the concept, and the content was very rich, very diverse, and a really, really nice atmosphere. And that was my take on it. That was my. What do you think? What was your take on it?
Yeah. Thanks for asking that too, because these are what makes these conversations great. Is what do we all combined get out of this, right? And so I found the conference material to be relatable. I mean, here I am. I'm a field spy. I'm practical. I've done this stuff, right? I've had to network in real time and transfer those skills to other settings. And as we went through all of these things, breathing exercises, and even the fashion thing, I have to wear the right clothes to communicate the right idea for what I'm trying to accomplish. And so, some of that is because of who I was, some of that is tactically oriented, but some of it is not. And so I found everything to be validated through my own field experience, and which said to me, like, hey, we're onto something here. Whether it's we had Derek McManus in the show already, but his thought process, being shot multiple times, wounded all over the place, and just saying, I have the mental capacity to withstand this and to survive this. I mean, everybody, he got shot like 14 times. It's crazy. And he laid there for 3 hours and didn't expire, but felt like, I can handle this. This is manageable. And he managed it, mentally, by staying calm. Well, that's 100% applicable, whether you're trying to close a big deal or trying to get a shake to not want to kill you,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it was really diverse, and there were some really jaw-dropping moments. I thought that it really made everybody stop and think. The interesting part, I thought, as a presenter, was again presenting to a very diverse audience.
Okay.
So we had people from special forces, right? Ex-special forces. We had people from the intelligence community from different agencies. And we had people from the corporate world. All their different experiences of life, different backgrounds, different literally different experiences and a different viewpoint. And also, they've also got a different status in life, how they view the world. It's like the lens they're looking through. And this is something that I know you've spoken about on other shows, is how people, you said about Americans, you were saying that Americans, some of the biggest problems you've ever had is thinking that everybody thinks the same as yourselves. Right. Well, and of course they don't. But I think to a greater or lesser extent, all humans do that. They all see the world through their lens and they judge it by themselves and like, why the hell don't people do this? Because that's what I would do. I know that's what you would do, but they're different. Right. And that's the thing. So it was relating getting the right size chunk from all the stuff that we know to get that and to relate that to the audience in a way that they can digest. So what I did there, and what a lot of people commented on, was how I started with, because I did about 4 presentations throughout that weekend, but started with a low level stuff and then built up skill level as the weekend went on. So there was something there for everyone.
Yeah, when we both are in our professional settings, whether I'm being a spy or just a regular, person who's trying to accomplish some goal, for some project, we've got to know the right people. That means we're doing some hunting, and you can approach this a couple ways. One of them is to just carpet bomb and get to say hi to everybody and just sort of see what happens. And that is a way to do it. You can be a little more precise and spend more time with 1 or 2 people. And I know we talked about this. I must enter the person's business card information into my phone immediately.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I will never follow up. I just reliably will not do it. And so, and you look at like the results, I followed up with you immediately. I followed up with Yo-Yo. I followed up all these SpyQ people. And for the most part, I think I've talked to almost everybody. Now, like Steve and I haven't had a chance to connect yet, but we have talked, right? And so that's one of the things that I found was a weakness for me. And I had to accept that, like, hey, I've just got a bigger and bigger stack of business cards that I do nothing with. So what are your thoughts? Like, how do you fine tune your networking game? It is work, but it also is pleasurable work, right? And so if you're just frantically running around getting to know people and not getting anything out of it, what's the next step? How do you evolve into a better networking person?
Good question, because I taught professional networking for 17 years around the world, and there are skills for this. There's a whole series of strategies for professional networking. Now, if you become a serial networker, which I am, the danger is in your early days, it can take up your whole time. Now, it could be said that you could spend 60% of your life quite productively networking, 60% just networking, not actually doing any work, purely networking. It can be a really successful strategy. Women tend to be better at this than men, because women tend to be more social.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what deal you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, things happen with people that they like. Generally, unless that person has a really unusual skill and they can't stand that person, but they just need them for that skill. And it does happen. People do get hired that way. But generally, when you look at anything in history, look at any history book, building any empire, anything, people pick people that they like to some degree. You've got to be able to do the job, but then it's likability after that. So when it comes to networking, there's so many things you can do, but one of the things I try to do is to speak briefly with everybody at the event. Try to speak briefly. From that, to quickly ascertain if there is a connection to follow up, and if there is, make the appointment there and then.
Right.
There and then. Like business cards, forget all of that. Send me an email later. Let's do it now. Let's do it. My conversation is something like this. We must do that. You know what? If you're anything like me, I'm terrible with diaries. That's not true, but I'll say that. But so let's just grab your phone. Let's just connect now. What's your diary looking like for next Thursday at, say, 11 o'clock? Right. Let's put it in. Done. Then move on to the next person, because a lot of people, Peter, you would have seen this in your life a lot. They'll meet a good connection, and this plays throughout people's lives. They make a great connection, and they'll stay with that person. like a limpet. You'll be
Right.
with them. Well, that's great. That person would be a good connection. But what about all the other people you've missed? Your very best connection in your life, in your business, in your career could be the person who just walked past you and you haven't even spoken to. Yet, had we made an initial connection, that is also an invite to follow up, be it face-to-face, be it nowadays, thanks to technology, over Zoom or something like this, or Microsoft Teams, or whichever you're using. Yeah, you can connect through the world quickly. You can talk to someone for literally 5 minutes, 3 minutes even, and say, let's connect, let's talk later, let's grab a virtual coffee, and you can make that connection. Is it good to meet people face-to-face? It depends on the context. Often the initial meet is good face-to-face. It depends what you're doing. It really depends what you're, let's use the word selling. What is it you're selling? What line of industry are you in? What are you doing? Some things need to be discussed in person. Fine. But if you're networking, meet someone face-to-face, few minutes, make the connection, move on. And that way you can network the whole room really quickly. I'd also say try to remember something about, like you did it wonderfully just now, Peter. You said when we spoke about business cards. Yeah, we was at the bar, we was talking about business cards. We was laughing and joking about business cards, and I'd said I could wallpaper my house with business cards. But you wouldn't remember most of the people on the business card unless they have a photograph. You pick them up years later and you're like, who was that? But if you make a connection with someone, you make a real connection, and you connect on social media these days, you don't need business cards. I have got literally in my office over here boxes and boxes of business cards. These days I rarely use them. There are some kinds of meetings that I go to where it is that kind of environment, and I will still use them. But I would say 95% of the time now, I never use business cards.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't need a business card. I need a follow-up. I need action, right? And I don't know who I need to know. And networking is work. And if you don't enjoy it, you can build the muscle so that it does become enjoyable. And it really can take over a lot of your social life. When we say networking, I know you and I'm gonna assume that you're gonna be with me 100% of this. It's not just that event. You are building a vast network. So that one event is one time to maintain your network, to expand it, to do whatever it is. And maybe the opportunity that you have is 5 years down the road when you talk to Pete. And it might take you 25 times to get to that point where you are liked, because it turns out, everybody, developing influence, developing affinity, developing the ability to be likable enough to do business with, these things might happen in an instant, and it might take years, and not necessarily because of likability, but because opportunity and likability have to be aligned too. So you don't stop networking. You're always doing it. You're always, and this is how I see the world. You're always curating that. And I'll put this into spy sense. When I go to Village X and figure out where the bombs are. Well, you can't just walk around going, where are the bombs? Where are the bombs, everybody? Where are the bombs? I have to build a network. And I know you can hear this, Grant. It's like, I have to build a network. I don't know who I need to know. I'm in another language, another religion, in a non-permissive environment, which means dangerous. And I've got to sort out who are the 5,000 people I have to meet to maybe have that information just walk in the door. That's the size of networking, though. I mean, that's what you have to do. You want to do SpyQ, you have to always be ready to meet somebody and to curate a relationship. It should be genuine, but sometimes you have to extend that out and be like, this is where I have to be. And so I'm going to be direct. I might be a little phony, whatever it's going to be. But that's the world of networking. So says Pete.
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of correlations there. Like when you look at like exactly like you're saying, I used to do an awful lot of investigation work. And you walk into a town, and some places are great big sprawling cities where you can get lost in a crowd. Some are small villages where you stand out. You stand out like a sore thumb, and literally your skin color may be a different color. So you're really standing out. So how do you blend in? How do you be innocuous? How do you find the key movers and shakers, but without literally saying, hey, I'm looking for the key movers and shakers here? How do you do that? And I think it's the same as another networking event. So if you start looking at body language, for example, if you work into what I've always found, into a networking event, be it very overt or a situation where it's covert. So maybe if I was doing undercover work, if I was doing surveillance or something like this, this all maps over into the world of networking, because you're walking in, even in the world of sales. If you're doing high impulse sales, and I used to teach this stuff years ago, when you'd walk into various, let's say you've got a row of shops, you walk into every shop. You do not know what's behind that door. You walk in and you've got a pitch, and you've got to pivot very quickly. You walk into a lawyer's office, you walk into a hairdresser's, you're working into a vehicle repair centre. Different kinds of people. You've got, your persona's got to be different every time you walk in. You've got to blend. So about every 3 minutes, you're changing personality. It was some of the best training I've ever done in my entire life. It was a complete boot camp. And it paid so many dividends in the world where you're doing actually surveillance, when you're doing work like that, you're doing undercover work, and of course in the world of commercial networking, because you're walking into different environments, foreign environments, but you're trying to look like you fit in. So you've got to understand, back to your question, the movers and shakers. It's not always the people with the stripes on their arm, so to speak. They might be the people in charge, but they may not really be the decision makers. Yeah. You know, so body language will help you this, because you can see, I mean, we know the body language traits. We can talk about some of them here if you wish to, but you know, you're walking and you look at people and you can see how other people are responding to each other. And from that you can read, you can minimize the time spent by learning who are the influencers, who are the people who are going to give you the information, who are the ones in charge, and who are the lever pullers. You know? So
in counterintelligence and most human intelligence is there's words we say spot, assess, recruit, right? And that is a very, 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 very complex and dangerous path. But they're like, guys, spot, assess, recruit, like it's nothing. But the spotting part, I would say, is, so I see Grant and I'm going to make a calculated decision on, am I going to spend time here or not? Now, at SpyQ, I was trying to purposely be a little bit unknown before I spoke, because I wanted to use my lack of familiarity to display my ability to build affinity. But if we were to meet in a bar, I would look at you and I would decide, yes, no, am I going to talk to this person, or when I was going to talk to you. But also the assess part is going to be in there too. So that's going to overlap. And because I don't know what I'm looking for necessarily. Maybe I need to know you because you're a farmer. Maybe I need to know you because you're a sales guy. Maybe I need to know you because there's all these different things. And I won't know what those things are. So once I've spotted and go, oh, you know what, this person, something about them catches my eye. And maybe I'll even say, hey, Grant, I think you've got great hair. We're both middle-aged guys. And the way you comb it, I've been thinking about making that transition. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to want to talk to me after that. And I'm going to be genuine, because I'm always trying to figure my hair out. I'm a middle-aged guy. So I'm like, I got hair, but not as much. How do I? And so if I say that to you, that's going to be the beginning of my assessment, right? Because I'm going to make sure that that line works. If it doesn't work, that's fine. We can adapt from there. But I'm going to assess, but I'm not going to assess in an instant. And this is another thing, and then I'm going to shut up. I'm going to start with that spot and that immediate assessment. And it's going to be ABC 1, 2, 3, right? But then I'm going to try to, this is how I approach this, I'm going to try to prove all of those assumptions wrong, because I don't know who you are. I don't know what your access is. I don't know what might make you valuable. Now the journey begins, where I start to read you and say, I sense deception. Let me test for that. I sense a positive attitude. I sense trust. I sense these things. And I'm testing as part of my assessment. And I don't hold dear any of my initial assumptions. I just start there as a means of getting to know who Grant is. So not only do I assess the value of you for me as a contact, but also I'm assessing how accurate I am in assessing who you are.
Good. So yeah, because if you're doing that, then you can adjust that accordingly. So the next time you go to meet someone, you can be more accurate. Yeah, debriefing yourself is absolutely essential. It really is. And I love that you do that. I love that you do. So what you're looking for is an access point, isn't it, first of all? Right. What's my way into this potential recruit? Yeah, what's the access point? What's the opening gambit? Yeah. So you're reading them.
Well, and this goes to the whole thing of like these simple phrases, these mindsets, right? And we deal in mindsets because it helps us get to where we need to be. Spot, assess, recruit. Like, it's simple. It's not simple. Or why don't you establish rapport? Okay. What are the steps to that? How do I test for that? And your boss is like, you establish rapport. Those are the words that I say. And so when we have these words, there's one in acting too, and the last one is you show up on time and then tell the truth. But what is your truth? What truth do you
Right.
communicate no matter what you do? If I sit in a crowded classroom, one of the truths that I don't have to do anything else, this is true. If I sit there and just pay attention, it will look like I'm an arrogant dick. I've had this happen throughout my life. But if I put my head down and I write meaningless notes as I'm doing it, I become attentive. And
Yeah.
so if I'm in that kind of a setting, I write notes, and I might be writing the name of every president and vice president, might write down every baseball team, but because I'm furiously writing notes as I pay attention, I'm perceived differently. That is my truth. Is that I don't control the other side. I can want it to be different, but it's not.
It also comes across as respectful, I think, because when you're taking notes, it's like you're giving the silent message that I'm learning something here. I'm learning something that I didn't know. So that's subconsciously flattering to the other person.
Yeah.
It edifies them, if you will.
So these complex concepts that we say things, and you're exactly right. I just want to get back into this part of the concept here. So spot, assess, network. There are all of these subsets. We already made networking bigger. It's a whole town now, or a state, or a community. It gets really big really fast. How do you accurately manage your progression? Because this is something that you and I are going to learn and get better at the rest of our lives. We'll make fewer mistakes,
Yeah.
but I'm willing to make mistakes. Very important. So how do you, with all of this vastness, all this complexity, all of the subsets of the outline of spot, assess, recruit, how do we reliably make ourselves better at the individual tasks?
Great question. And this is like a drawback answer. You got to look at. I think this comes back to what a lot of my work that I do in the world of coaching, consulting. It's a much bigger picture where you sit there and ask yourself the purpose. Why are you doing this? So I ask people, whatever they're doing, whenever people come to me and they say, "Oh, I'm going to write a book," or "I'm going to do this," or "I'm going to do a podcast," for example, my first question would be, "Why? Why do you want to do that?" Nothing wrong with it, but I'm just asking why. Why do you want to write a book? Well, I don't know. No, I don't know. I plead ignorance. Yeah, no, I don't. Why would you want to write a book? Because there's probably about 11 different ways to desired outcomes from writing a book. So, and you need to know that before you start, because before you start, that's then going to dictate the direction that you take in writing a book to reach that goal. Is it to get world acclaim? Is it to give a lot of money to charity? Is it to get keynote speeches from it? Is it to make money from selling the books or using the book as a business card? Is it to become a #1 bestseller? Is it what is it you're doing that for? What are you writing the book for? So when it comes to anything like this, how do you become better at it? I think knowing your purpose before you do it, before you do anything in life, is like, why am I doing this? This has become a recession with me. Even if I'm out relaxing somewhere and I've gone somewhere and let's say I go and watch a band play, I'll sit there and that's good. And I'll look around at the collection of people, the collective, and I think, why are we here? What do we do? And I used to be in a rock band when I was a youngster, and I'm still in touch. It's a very serious attempt. It's a whole different story for a different podcast. But I met a guitarist the other day, and a few months ago we met up, and we meet quite regularly. And he laughed. He just looked at me. He said, "Why are we friends?" I said, "What?" He said, "Well, we know each other, now 35, 40 years. Why are we friends?" He said, "It's over a piece of wood and some strings, isn't it? It's guitars. It's a few chords brought us together, and we've become lifelong friends because of that." Right? Yeah. It's our shared reality of that. So when you boil it down. So if you take that analogy and you look at why are you doing anything, you understand your purpose behind it, how important that is. If you get that right, how that could change your life and the lives of the people you're interacting with, be those your clients, be they your connections, the agents, be that your family, your community. the impact it can have. Once you remind yourself, and this is what most people don't do, they just walk around like automatons. But if they remind themselves why they're doing something, it will inspire you to want to sharpen the saw. And if you do that, you make a list of criteria of how you can get. I do it every day with my coaches. I coach people to become coaches, and I coach clients. And I ask them at the end of it, debrief it all the time. What worked well? What worked less well? What did you learn? What did you learn about yourself? What's your moment of clarity from this? What's your moment of clarity from which you can now take action? And then, what was your realization from this insert coaching session, interaction, surveillance, operation? What was it? What did I realize from this? If you debrief yourself, now the nicest thing about that is not a beating up exercise. It's no emotion. It's just a clinical debrief. It's just facts. And you mentioned earlier about facts. Well, you mentioned about truth, and you said it's their truth. The way I look at the world, there's facts and there's truths. It is true according to your bias. It is your truth. And then there's a cold-hearted fact. And they're often two different things. So if we look at experiences that have happened in our lives, if we look at the facts and remove the emotion, boy, does it make life easier. It really makes life easier. And if we can just remind ourselves to cut the cord just for a while, just suspend emotions, just for 1 hour, and deal with the facts, you can get to the pinnacle of the next point of direction so much quicker.
It's funny when you go to a networking event, it's common for people to be a little nervous and uncomfortable. But this is an event put on for people that want to meet people. They want to network. It's in the title, and we still get bound up by this emotion. It's almost like a dating kind of thing that we have to get by. And look, we're all guilty of it. We all have those times. And sometimes it feels like we're like, all right, I'm going to go to this networking event. But the very goal of the networking event is to get you placement and access to people who want placement and access to other people. And it can be a powerful thing, but that's just an example of where emotion can get immediately in your way. And instead of getting excited, like, I get to go meet some incredible people today who are desperate to meet me. Wow. What a difference in mindset.
That's really, that's good. Wait, you love networking, people, right? You love it.
Yeah.
And it's funny that when people talk about networking, it's so ingrained in my blood now that I don't even think of it as network. It's just living.
Yeah, right.
It's living.
Right.
And it's like when people ask about the word sales. Personally, I would ban the word sales because it's just communication. It's just, and when people ask me about, they put a lot of fear. Oh, I've got to network, and in comes that label. Now go and network. Turn the key and network. It's that big thing that brings up a lot of fear in people, especially introverts. And if there's any introverts listening, let me tell you that networking is one of the best skills ever for introverts. If you're using it, think of it as a good tennis player. Think of it as a good martial artist, as a Aikido. Let's think of Aikido, where you're using the opponent's energy against themselves. You're not doing much. You're just stepping out the side at the right time or just guiding that movement. Like a tennis player, you don't have to be the fittest. You're running all over the court. It's knowing where to be standing. Yeah, it's that kind of analogy. Networking's like that. If you have a strategy, and probably about 93% of the world who network do not have a strategy. But they say that 90% of the business comes from networking. Now that's insanity, isn't it? If they say that much of their business growth, in their career, their relationships, or their business comes from networking, why would you not have a system? Why would you not systemize that? Why would you leave it to chance? Crazy. Now, if you have a system, it takes the panic, it takes the fear. You just follow not the script. I'm dead against scripts. Not a script, but you follow the template. There's a few key
Yeah, that's
factors. You just do them, and it's pleasurable. And you don't have to do much work. You
mm,
just ask the right questions, and the answers get done by the opposite person. So it's lovely work for introverts.
yeah. It's I love that you talked about the introvert part of this because you can build this muscle even if you are introverted. Some of your introversion might wash away and
Uh-huh.
become a little bit more. You might be more a compelling person. So you might be like, hey, this is, yes, at heart I'm an introvert, but also it turns out I find these things very valuable. I enjoy meeting people. I see my friends, and all of a sudden, the introvert starts the transition, at least functionally in these settings, into an extrovert. So where you and I, we thrive in these kind of environments. Someone else can build up substantial capacity by just getting that mindset right, where this is something that's enjoyable and good for your career.
Right.
And when it becomes less drudgery, I think you become in this one instance, I think you become less introverted.
Absolutely. And people can read it. And this is why you've got to be congruent, I think, Peter, in everything we do. When you fake it, I hate the thing about fake. The book which I co-wrote wasn't about faking it. This is the thing.
Mm,
It's a word play on that. Do not fake it. You fake it. Faking's really hard work. Really, really hard work. Faking it, and plus the fact it's very detectable. People can read it for the body language. We're instinctive animals. We really are. And you can read it. You know when someone's off incongruency. Better off to reframe it. If you reframe what you're doing, it's pleasurable. Now, put it this way. Someone I read on social media a while ago, someone who I used to know years ago had a health scare. Now, he had a health scare, was very worried. Turns out he was okay and he came home. And he wrote on social media, my God, even going out on a gloomy, rainy day seems like a beautiful day now. He was enjoying the pleasures of ordinary thing. Now, there's a lesson there. If we take pleasure in those things, taking out the trash, taking out the garbage, taking out the rubbish, taking out, doing those things, note your language. Oh, I've
mm,
got to go to work. Oh, I've got to drop the kids. Oh, I've got to drop this assignment in. You haven't got to, you've chosen to.
mm.
You've got more autonomy in your life than you think.
Yeah.
You have chosen that path. You have chosen to have that family. You've chosen to have that career, that job. So you've chosen. If you don't like it, you can start to make different choices. Maybe not in a moment, but it might take some time, but you can make different choices. So you've chosen that. So don't begrudge paying bills. Don't begrudge paying that electricity bill. Isn't it fantastic? You pay that gas or electricity bill so that you can have lovely hot water, have a nice hot shower, wash your clothes, cook a nice meal. How nice it is. Take pleasure in these things. See where it fits into your ecosystem and how important that is, and you have more gratitude for what you're doing. Gratitude is a very coachy word, I know, but it is just a general sense of comfort and satisfaction and fulfillment in what you're doing. So if you're, again, this comes back to knowing why you're doing something. You've got to fill in some boring document to get that, filed for something, and you might be putting it off. Don't think of the form, think of the outcome. If and what pleasure that's going to bring you, or how that's going to enhance your life, then that inspires you to get that form, that document filled in, for example. Yeah? And we can do that with everything from carrying out the trash, from doing those annoying tasks, from cleaning that greasy oven or what it is, or dealing with that difficult client or operative, whatever it is. It's a means to an end. It's part of the cog, and it's going to enhance your life. Even if it's a challenge, it will make you a better person, which comes back to what you asked me just now. How do you get better? It is by taking those stepping stones. You get those stepping stones, you do it, and that's that.
Yeah.
Pete, years ago, I was hired to do a series of talks, presentations in different countries, and I was, flown around doing all these presentations. And in the world of keynote speeches and things like this, and presentations and training, you can work with some companies who are really good organization events company, and you can work with some that are really not so great. They'll tell you they're great, but they can be bad. I was working with one which was a really tricky one, and renowned for being very tricky to work with. And let's just say it was extraordinarily challenging. They were very, very unprepared. It was unbelievable. It couldn't have made it any more stressful if you liked, if you tried. And I decided to stick with it because I knew my purpose, my mission, if you will. So quite often I think I'm here to do this. I know it's going to be tough, but let's just do this, because at the end of it, at the end of that rainbow, there is light at the end of that tunnel. So I did it, and I was not happy while doing it, but trying to remain happy because I was thinking of the future, what that was going to look. I did it. It was extraordinarily tough, but at the end of it, I said, mission accomplished. And that was my mission. Nothing more, nothing less. I knew it was going to be a whole load of hassle. But as a result of that, when people ask me now to drop in and do this, or can I change this or do that, no problem. Because nothing was as difficult as that. Nothing was, it could never be more difficult than that. So if I could handle that, in that realm, I can handle anything. That's for sure. Yeah.
I love it. It's this goes to the overall, like, the work of putting in the work, the networking thing. And this is what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
We could spend an entire couple of shows talking about behavioral assessment, and so, okay, this person is, I fill in the blank, an EFMP, this person is a giver, whatever model you want.
Yeah.
But what the fuck are you going to do about it?
Like, right. Absolutely. Brilliant question. Yeah. You've analyzed the person. Oh, look at this. It's done this. Oh, it's a
if you've analyzed them correctly, by the way, Yeah,
if you've done it, exactly. One, if you've done it correctly. Two, now you know it. Great.
Yeah.
So what? What does that mean?
Right.
Oh, you're clever.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And how's that going to help? Again, what is your desired outcome from this?
Right.
What do you then want to then getting them to behave differently is a whole different skill set, as you know. Yeah. Great question. Great point. Yeah.
Well, and this is the thing that I'm curious to continue to explore with you. So, okay, this person's an EFMP. Okay, great. What the fuck are you going to do about it? Well, and then you could start doing, all right, when do you get good at that? Oh, every time I meet an EFMP, I now know the path to go from here to there and get to where my goal is, to sell them something, to get them hired, to whatever it is, right? To understand how to reliably do that is, and also be completely fine with failing at that. Like, A to B isn't how anything goes in this world, right? Like, not networking.
No.
You might have to, it might be a 10-year journey to get to where you're going. And so you just continue to understand that, oh, this person's an EFMP. I'm going to put this person in this kind of situation. We're going to talk about these things. And it turns out you're just going to become tennis buddies for the next 5 years. And then finally, they're like, you know what? I never realized you're good at that. And then you make money. So how do you reliably get better, or know when you have a command of what to do about, and we'll just say behavior in this case, how do you pull those levers so that you're not just yanking levers to manipulate? We are going to manipulate, but everyone around you is going to be clueless that you're manipulating anything, but the entire time your mastery is showing.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the art of getting people to do what you want them to do, but let them think it's their idea and that they want to do it. They're not. If people are forced into things, they'll resent it. Getting people to want to do something, and again, this is a beautiful thing, and this is a really quite an holistic thing. The way I said, if you're understanding people well enough, so that you understand the levers in their world, their criteria and values, what's important to them. It's the whole. Let's use the hearts and mind as an exercise. You understand what's important to that person, and you give them what they need. They will want to do it. And that's a whole different energy. When people want to do something, as opposed to when I've got to do that. That's a contractual agreement. Oh, I've got to do that. Yeah, I've got to do it. Legally, I've got to do that. My boss says I've got to do that. That's a contractual thing. But when the best companies that excel, the best army units that excel, military units, as I say, the best relationships that excel, it's not just fulfilling that obligation. It's willingly, there's the word, going above and beyond. Because that's not coming from here, that's coming from here. And that makes world of difference. That's what goes from being average to being world class.
Average to world class, man. That's a goal right there, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we often talk about mastery about things, but we don't want to declare ourselves a master of something. I don't mind saying it, making this in the human spy world, and I'm making a very small, narrow channel to get through. I've mastered that. I'm a multi-degree black belt in that discipline. But my peers, they struggle to say that. They struggle to identify, oh, that's Pete. He's a really fucking good spy. We don't like to put that assessment, at least in this world. So I'm assuming that this is a common thing where if you're a very capable salesperson or you're excellent at coaching or whatever it is, it's tough to be able to say or to have the bona fides visibly to somebody else, but also to declare your bona fides. Why do we struggle to self-identify our greatness once we've achieved it and go higher? Why do we struggle to give that to somebody if they aren't necessarily famous? There's a lot of people who are hyper successful at
Oh
the
yeah.
thing they do, and they're completely invisible.
This is when I coach people. I come across some extraordinarily talented people, who some are celebrity status and are well known, and some are not. And sometimes the difference is not that wide. There are a lot of similar. You can see, especially potential. My tagline is the art of extracting latent potential. I see the potential in people and bring it out. So when I meet some people, and I have a client 2 days ago, and no, the path she was going down didn't bring out the class of who this person is. They need to be on different platforms. They need to do business in a different way, and we was mapping this out because they are world class. Now, world class, I think, is not a title you give yourself, not a label you give you. It's what other people give you. And I would advise anyone, if anyone ever says to you you're world class, say thank you very much. That might be nice. That might be something that you might put on a CV, on a resume, but don't accept it yourself. Because if you ever accept you're world class, that means you stop learning. And the moment you stop learning, it means the moment you start looking, you stop looking. And in some fields of work, that can be disastrous. And I would think that the biggest barrier to ultimate success, however you define success, the biggest barrier to success, to ultimate success, is actually success itself. And here's why. Because when people are here, they then crack the code, right? They crack the code, they go from there, they go to there, and it's brilliant. It's the best they've ever done. It's the best they've ever seen, the best they've ever experienced, and they cracked it. And they give up. Not knowing that they got here, they could get to there. They just didn't start. They've hit the glass ceiling. They think they've cracked it because they've got nothing to measure it against. Because they've not really mapped out again their purpose, how big their purpose is, their goal in this life, what they really want to do. And I think this comes down to environment. The environment wherein I often talk about this. You'll get someone who there'll be an electrician, for example, and there'll be an electrician working for a company, and then they'll say, I wish I was a self-employed electrician. Well, okay. But the self-employed electrician has then got to do his job and run a business. Right? But he sees somebody else who's an electrician who's got 5 guys working for him. He says, wow, wish I had my own firm with guys working for me and 5 vans on the road. Okay? You only ever see one level above where you are, most people. And then the guy who's got the electrician with 5 vans says, I wish I had that contract for all of this city. And then the person with the city says, I wish I had the rest of the country. Everybody only looks one step ahead, and that's how far they look. Their field of vision is normally quite small. But what is it, Pete, when you learn to drive a car? When you're first driving a car, you're looking at the car in front, and the instructor says, stop looking at the bumper in front, look 3 cars ahead.
Yeah.
Most people are not looking 3 cars ahead. When you're flying an aeroplane, people always talk about faster planes. What do you think about them? Yeah, they can carry you to death an awful lot quicker. If you don't know what you do, you've got to be ahead of the plane. You know, the small plane is maybe 3 miles ahead. You've got to be thinking 3 miles ahead. A twin engine plane, 5 to 7 miles ahead. And probably if you're flying like a stealth bomber, probably something like about 80 miles ahead, something like that. Your brain's got to be thinking ahead there. And this is what we should be doing with our life. We should be flying a stealth bomber, a stealth fighter, or whatever. We should be looking further ahead. Knowing your purpose and why you're doing it, it helps you get unstuck from the minutiae and looking at the big picture. And that will always carry you through tough times. If you know why you're here, why you're doing it, in certain circles, that used to be your step 7. It used to be a whole formula of what you're doing. And that was step 7. Know what you're doing, know why you're here and why you're doing it. Right? And that's, if you do that, it carries you through most things. It will get you through the tough times. That's why I feel essentially this life is too short to be doing things you don't want to be doing. You should be doing what you love, because when you do what you love, you get better at it. When the going gets tough, you stick at it because you essentially love it. Because you do that, people read that in your body language. Because they read it in your body language, it looks like you fit and better opportunities come your way. And life gets easier because you're in your flow. And I think that is the essence to it. If only people are bold enough and give themselves authority to go ahead and do that.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, that's that last thing that you landed on. One of the things I'll clock when I talk to someone is if they are a person that needs permission to do something, that they already have all of the permission they need to do.
Yeah.
We see this a lot, and it happens in the political world where I think the ways people are wired in certain ways, they are afraid to take the opportunity that is right in front of them.
Absolutely.
Because they need someone to normalize something for them to take a step forward.
Yeah, it's about yourself. So these are great questions and great points that you're bringing up, Pete, because you can only ever grow. You can only ever grow. Now, whether we're talking about a relationship, and don't forget, relationships involves yourself. If you want to have a great relationship with that significant other, have a great relationship with yourself first, so your cup is overflowing. Yeah, like that. Same when it comes to a job. Same when it comes to a career. If you're working in an agency, if you're breaking into a new field, and of course, intelligence operatives are always breaking into a new field. Right? That's what you always do. Now, whether that means you're breaking into a new field in the commercial market, whether you're doing an espionage operation, whether you're just doing into a new field of your work, your life, culture, study, whatever you're doing, this stuff is all transferable. These are transferable skills. So what I spend, you may not know this, people, I spend a lot of my life watching documentaries. And I watch documentaries, wildly diverse. Music, I love music. Yeah, I used to be a rock band. I love music documentaries. Not just the music, but how the music came about. What's the concept behind that? Who are the key players, the personalities? Where was those happenstances where magic happened? And how can you define that magic, that undefinable thing? Let's try and find the science behind that. Then I'll watch a documentary about war. Same thing. The same thing's going on in the music industry as it does in war. Seriously, if you look, there's patterns. There's patterns with people, relationships. Same in the world of social change, culture, art, Leonardo da Vinci. All of these things are what's different documentaries. Look at fashion, right? What we wore back in the 90s. Perfectly normal then. Looks ridiculous now. When did that actually change? Did you see it change? I didn't. But then again, you don't see daytime go to nighttime, do you? You don't say, oh, who flipped the switch? It's gradual, isn't it? It's gradual. Saw a documentary the other day, something in the 90s, how strange the cars looked. They look very modern at the time. Things change subtly in front of our eyes, but we don't notice it because we're not observing. But all these changes are happening. And when you map all these things together, from economics, from history, from war, from culture to music, how that changed, how we act in our lives, The clues are all there, right in front of you, if you sew it together. And this is what I spend a lot of my time doing, and then mapping things over from one
Mm.
industry or one part of the world into another, and finding the common sense where we start to work, if you will, with the human brain, which hasn't changed for a long, long time, and it's not due to change anytime soon. So it's
Right.
not what we're learning about neuroscience and about ain't going to change. So it's going to be good skills for life. To use that and work with nature to make life easier, so that you
Mm.
can work with the flow rather than pushing and forcing things to happen. Working in conjunction with things so that it makes life easier for yourself. It creates less fatigue, increases health, increases your fulfillment of life. And then that brings us back to what we were saying earlier. If you're cheerfully going about life, cheerfully taking the trash out, cheerfully going, in that car for that long journey and doing it because you know your desired outcome, your purpose of why you're doing it, you become a more cheerful person. I don't mean to say you have to be laughing all the time, but you're just inwardly happy. People can read that. When people read it, that's attractive, if you will. People want to be around people that make them feel better about themselves. And if you work with someone, there's certain people, they all do the same job, but it's just more pleasurable to be around some people. When you do that, more opportunities come to you. Now, whether that means it's easier to get that promotion at your job, whether it means you're more attractive if you're in the world of dating, whether that means you've got a better relationship with yourself when you're trying to work on your health, maybe lose weight, whatever you're doing, whether that means you're in the field trying to build rapport, in the world of espionage, you all become more amenable, more attractive. I don't mean
Mm.
in a physical sense, I mean in the mental sense. People feel more connected with you. And when they feel more connected, they open up. When they open up, what you need to know comes forward. Things get achieved in a shorter time scale and with less pressure, less hard work, and you
Right.
get better results. And once you get a habit of getting good results, guess what? You know it. Better opportunities. Hey, Pete, you worked on that case, you've done that. Now we've got another one for you. Right? Once you've got your track record, you
Oh
don't
boy.
ever have to do it. And that's why, probably like yourself, I guess, I've never written a CV, I've never written a resume in my entire life.
Yeah.
Everything I've ever achieved has been through networking. Everything.
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. I mean, I have a powerful network partly because I was a spy and I developed the skills, but more importantly, that I have this show. I get to know you because of this show. I knew Grant or Gavin Stone because of the show, right? And so this is really, my friends will say, like, how do you make money? Like, I don't know that part. That part I don't know. Like, I make some money on the show, but the value that I exchange by networking and not only networking for my benefit, but like, oh my gosh, you should know Grant. And Grant should know Gavin, and you guys will figure something out. And so I'll connect you guys. And so I have become a network as opposed to just networking. My Rolodex is powerful enough that one of my friends is a book agent, right? Again, network. And he said, "Hey Pete, we'd like to get a very famous person to do a very special thing for this book project he was working on. Do you know how to get a hold of this very famous person?" And I said, "I need one phone call. Hang on." And I called someone and they're like, "Yeah, I'll connect you to his family, this person's family, and then we'll see." And so within one phone call from me, I connected these people that were several relationships apart, and the answer ultimately ended up being no, but they got to talk to the source for that thing, right? And so that's what
It's
my show
incredible.
provides. Yeah, it is incredible. And that's just one example. And I could tell you all the names, it doesn't matter. The names aren't important. What is important is people who didn't have a connection, they need to come to me to access my network, and then I can plug them in. And I'm not precious with my network. I'm like, no, please, you guys should be together. I'll even unsolicited go, Grant, you should know Bob. And I'm going to introduce you guys. I'm going to plug you in. Whether you do something or not, I don't care, but I'm going to create the spark. And if you guys decide to do something with it, great. And if I have to come back and back and back, and you and Bob are going to get connected one way or the other, I'm going to do that. Now, I would say like that's another level up of Yes, you can see my show and say, "Where are the ads?" Well, there's ads out there, but I don't chase them because there's the value for me to go chase an ad account that could maybe or maybe not help. There's no juice for that squeeze. But if I connect you and Bob and you guys do business or become tennis buddies or whatever it is, I'll take all of those opportunities anybody can throw in front of me. So that the next time I'm sitting in a meeting in a foreign country and I'm going, how did I get in this room with all of these people? And what on earth am I going to do for them? And then 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I know exactly what you need to do about this because of the network and the experience. So, yeah, I mean, there's no company in the world that I could apply for a job with and they're going to hire me. That's just not how they're ever going to hire me. But the CEO of that company might say, Pete, come down and help us with this one thing. Or
100%.
could you meet me in Aspen? Aspen, I don't have any money. No, 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 no. We'll pay for you to come to Aspen. You're going to pay for me to come to Aspen and sit there and you're going to talk and I don't have to do anything else. Yes, maybe you can help us figure out what to do. And sure enough, I will pay the bills. I don't know how I'm going to pay the bills, but I will pay the bill for that visit because of this ridiculous network that I have. That's the power of these things.
That's the beauty. By the way, is my camera frozen?
No, no, not on my end. No.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So the beauty of that is, like you say, you've made yourself worthwhile. You've made yourself useful in that situation. You've made yourself an asset, and that's the beautiful thing. I think if we take that in life, in anything we do, and we think if you're working in connection with other people, and we invariably are, and you used the expression rapport earlier, it's about giving people. So I always joke when I'm training other people to be coaches, I say, first of all, get it out of your head, first of all, that people feel really honored to be coached by you or something, because they don't care about us. First of all, you got to get your ego out of the way. First of all, they're wondering what you can do for them. That's it. What can you do for them? That's the key thing. So if they can see that you're useful to them, you can do something for them, that's great. Once they get the win, then they'll love you. So you have to, the appreciation, you have to suspend that for a while. I think that's really, really important and if you look at what you did, that comes back to that. You were useful to them. You gave them something they need. And once people get what they need, you become valuable. So networking is one of the most essential things about networking. Is where people go wrong is they think they're going to get an instant win, and they do it and go in. I've literally been at a very big networking meeting once, and I couldn't stop laughing. This guy came up to me and just stuffed his business cards in my hand. Seriously, I said, "This is what I do. If you need me, let me know." And I said, "Okay, can I introduce you to the other people here?" He said, No, none of you guys can help me. I don't need anything from you. Anyway, if you need me, let me know. And walked off. I laughed because I thought he was joking. I thought he was making a spoof of bad networking. I thought he was and I thought that was really funny what he did. Only about 30 seconds later, I realized he was deadly serious. Mm-hmm. I was like, who on earth is ever going to want to help a person like that? Like, he really needs to be trained. But
oh boy.
Not many people are that bad. But again, if you go out with there's the word again, intention, with the intent to help other people. If you can be in a position where you know who is going to be in the room, you can't always know that. But if you know who is going to be in the room and you look at them and if you will, you profile these people, know who they are, ask the right questions. What are they working on? What do they need? And sometimes you can ask simply, you've just asked a question. How can I help you?
Right.
What do you need? Because people don't ever say that. What can I do for you? People always think of themselves. But the benefit from networking is making yourself useful to other people. Right? You make yourself indispensable. You make yourself, in the simplest terms, that good guy. And that good guy who's the connector, who can connect anyone, is everything. We joked about business cards, and we used to be in the world where people used to go around with wallets full of business cards. Oh, can I have one of them? And I would tell my network, the only number you ever need is mine.
Yeah.
Just contact me. I'll put you in touch with anyone within my network.
Yeah.
Make it easy. I want to make it easy for you. Just call me, I'll connect you. That's it.
Yeah.
And that made me an invaluable hub. And the same with you. If you're
Yeah.
connecting
Yeah.
these people, right, you're doing that. People, you're the go-to person. You are
Hmm.
valuable. You are the person in their mind. So this is when it comes into the world of doing joint ventures. If there's many different ways to do joint ventures, there's many different ways to network, and there's different structures of it. Whether it's free networking, whether you're a deal broker and you get paid a commission introduction fee. There's all different ways to do it. But even in joint ventures, where typically people would take a commission cut by recommending you to the clients, not all clients want to take a commission. Not all industries are allowed to take commission. But in fact, I've got one who's probably about 150 meters from me, someone who I know. They cannot accept monetary exchange in their industry. They cannot. But what they do, they have a field of people that they introduce, and it's a symbiotic relationship. They recommend people to them, their clients they recommend to them, and sometimes it is just an extra value add for their clients. Their clients know they're taken care of because they're going to, I don't know, let's say an accountant's office, let's say it's a lawyer's office, whatever it is, they're going to them, or a medical physician. Let's look at that analogy. They'll go to see their medical practitioner and they'll say, yeah, what you need is a specialist on that. I'm not a specialist on that, but I will recommend you to my colleague who is. Now, that's fantastic. They're a one-stop shop. They go to that person who will give them access to anyone within that genre. And that's the essence of it. So I used to, I don't know about you, Pete, but I used to have this technique. I would have a bath before I went to the network the morning before. I'd have a bath and I'd lay there in the bath and I'd sit there and think, who am I going to meet? What do they need? And how can I help them?
Yeah. Well,
what can I do?
I didn't do it in a bath, but that's only because I was in combat, right? And so I would practice conversations that I may have so that I knew my question set, and not only knew what questions I needed to ask, where are the bombs, but what are the questions that precede the where are the bombs question? What's the question before you ask where are the bombs? And what's the question before that? What's the question? And so I knew my conversation forward and backwards because I'd had it, I'd practiced it. So that when I got there to whatever conversation it was, I had, I would call it a magazine, like with bullets in it, a magazine of questions for the farmer, the teacher, the sheikh. And so, because I knew where I needed to end up in my array of things, where are the bombs, who's financing the bomb maker, where is all these kind of things. And these questions would stream down. So whoever I met, I could put in the right set of questions to get to where I wanted to get to. The thing that kept that machine working was I never asked for anything other than the questions I asked, right?
Nice.
And so I would often say to the farmer, to the sheikh, to the businessman, we're here to help and we're struggling to figure out what to do. That's what the Americans have me here talking to you about. What is just the simplest, smallest problem we could solve today, right now? Like the easiest thing. Because I wanted to be valuable to them and I wanted to display that. Now there's some back working in this, some networking and some cheating of the system to make this work. And so when they say, well, my kid would go to school except for they have to walk 5 miles that way before they can get around the concrete wall that you guys put in. And I'm not going to send my kid that far down and to do that because it's dangerous. If you can move that piece of concrete right there, and this is a real story. We would send our kids to school. Got to get them across the street, but that's the next problem. Okay, great. So if I can figure out a way to help you get that concrete turned a little bit, you can get through there. Maybe we put a guard there. Would that be helpful? Yes, that would change everything for us and our kids and going to school. Well, look, that doesn't sound like a whole lot of sexy spying, but that's exactly what the commander needs. And so, and the commander that I work for, and they're all like this. They all can move concrete. All I got to do is move concrete. We snap their fingers and it gets moved, right? And I'm like, well, you worked with the commander. I've built networking with him. And we realize, hey, it doesn't have to be us. It has to be the governor that does that. So then we take it to the governor. We say, we have this small problem. We'd love to solve it. And like, yeah, get that get that farmer, get that sheik to come into my office, and you point at me and say, they need this fixed, and I'm going to point back at you, commander, and I'm going to say, you better move that concrete. And then you go, yes, sir. And so this whole thing's kind of rigged up in this way. So we find this tiny little problem, and we have him come to his government, which we're trying to establish the network between. We're trying to network them together to see if the government can help them, and they don't believe the government can, and they solve this problem. And the governor sits up and he goes, "Hey, Americans, you fix that problem." And then the commander goes, "Oh yes, you're right. I'm sorry, we screwed this up." And then the sheikh, the farmer, the businessman, they go, did we just solve this? And then here's the key. And this is all networking stuff, right? It doesn't sound like spy shit, but that's why this is all works. That's why it's all spy shit. I go back to that guy and I'm like, how about that governor? And then he goes from like the time before, like, who, the governor? There's no governor here, to that motherfucker's all right. I'll tell you what, anytime I need to do something, I'm gonna go to that guy. I'm like, you got another problem? Let's do it again. And if that person would bite, we would go and we'd cast that line again. And again, it's kind of rigged, but really all I'm doing is I'm priming each position so that it does work. And it goes brrr, and it fires. And it's like, can I get it to fire again? Can I get it to fire again? And if I could do that, that network started to work in spite of everything around it that would want it to not work. We were able to get that. And it was all by focusing what's the smallest problem that we should be able to solve today. And when they came back with electricity, they're like, hey man, that's too big for me. I mean, small. What is today, tomorrow? What's the simplest little thing? And it worked. It paid the bills, Grant, so many times. It was crazy.
It's a great story. I love that because, and it's so true. If again, if people can distill this message and take it away, because what you've done there is you've given someone a win. You've given someone a small win. If we can always think of this in our lives, in our businesses, in our careers, whatever it is, if you can take a small win and leave someone with a small win, that's given them a hit. It's given them a dopamine hit, right? Wow. What they think of next time, they're then expecting that again, because you then get the habit of being the guy who somehow does this magic and makes things work, makes things happen. Now, again, when that's working for you, you'll become a habit, the guy who gets things done. So then you'll get more projects like that. I can tell you can get this done. I can tell you can get this over the line. It's going to be Pete. Yeah. And they bring people like you in, you weave that magic, and they feel good about what? They feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
When they feel good about themselves, they like having you around, because whenever you're around, there's some sort of weird magic that works, and they like how it feels. And that's it. That's why you get invited back again and again. And it's not how they think, it's how they feel. And that's the thing.
And this is the thing, and I talked about this in my presentation, and I know we're at the end of this thing, but we're bringing up a crucial piece. I say this all the time, and I use these words because it makes people uncomfortable. I want that to happen. Affect, AFFECT, beats effect. And the example I always use is, if I write 15 love letters to that girl over there, it does not equal a path to love, not reliably and repeatedly. But if I can find 15 points of charm, if I can create an affect, an emotional response to stimuli that I can work with, well, now we're talking about love. Now I can create something. And that's what you talked about, the emotional thing. That's what I'm looking for, because emotions are powerful. And if I get them to trust me, emotional, if I get them to believe that I am an honest broker, or that I have help, or I have some kind of influence with somebody else. And it's not just the farmer to the Americans or the government. It can be the commander to the commander who's ordinate above him. And if they believe that I can, because I've done that, I've communicated vertically in a way that they cannot, because they're bound by the ethos and the structure of the thing. But I can write something in my report. I can go knock on a door. I can do a lot of things where I become an agent for somebody else. And again, I'm saying the word agent, just think network plugging in. I'm plugging in a network and going, does this work? What do I have to do to make this? This isn't flowing. I find where it's not flowing. I fix that. I plug it in. And that's what I'm doing. So I become an agent within my network to facilitate the prosperity of that. I'm saying prosperity, whatever word you want to use. But I use affect for all of it. I'm trying to create positive And I say positive, I mean positive with my goal in mind, right? I'm trying to find positive emotional responses to the things that I'm saying. And that's why I tell you how handsome you are, mean it, and how why you have great hair and this great haircut, and I'm like, hey, because I know that that is going to resonate with you because middle-aged men don't get a lot of, hey, you're attractive compliments, right? Like these things just don't happen. And so I know I'm going to
Well,
get a great response. Even if you're like, oh, come on, I will take the odds on me saying, I love how you do your hair. You tell a woman who's letting her hair go gray and you go, I love it, and you mean it,
yeah,
money in the bank. And I'm just using very simple examples. There's a lot of ways to do this. Affect beats effect.
absolutely. I love that. That's a great way. And again, this is a nice example of how you're going about your day. You're going out with a sense of purpose. Your purpose is to create affect.
Hmm.
That's it. And
Yeah.
you said earlier, which made me smile. You said this isn't spying stuff. This isn't espionage. This is networking. And I'm thinking, well, actually, isn't isn't intelligence gathering a network? Because
Yeah,
it
of
is.
course. Yeah, I have
Everything's a
to build
network,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everything is a
I
net.
mean,
You know the people you can pull in to make these things happen.
that's
It
right.
is relationships you've built. We've spoken off camera about the work you've done and the work I've done, and it is about the people you know. It's the way you make them feel. It's the people come in. It's that familiarity. Familiarity builds trust. Trust breaks down the
Hmm.
barrier. People become open. Fears are reduced. If I could rid the world of one thing, it would be fear,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
ego is masked fear, and
yep,
fear creates all kinds of troubles in the world, as we know. When we realize that we're much more akin than we think,
yeah.
most, not all, but a lot of the fear is reduced, and real honest communication opens up and solutions come forward.
Do you got a few more minutes for me? I got another thing I want to
Yeah,
run at you. Okay,
yeah,
okay. So one of the things I've learned from being on the show and from combat and being a spy is how to be a good guest. So if I fly across my nation, an ocean, and I meet up with you all, and I sit down at the dinner table with Gavin, and he's like, "Let me buy you Sunday dinner." I am going to say the word yes, thank you, and I will let him do that. You know why? Because I'm letting him be great. I'm letting him be a wonderful host. And if you can find opportunities to allow someone to be great, to be smarter than you, or to know something
yeah,
you don't know, or even to know something that you already know, but you allow them that room to shine. Hey, guess what? Positive affects. Again, not positive in that they feel great, but positive towards the goal I'm going towards. And so that's like a thing like where with my show, if I show up at a very famous person's house, and I use this example all the time, and their wife has baked me cookies so that they can be a great host to
mm,
me as I walk into their home to record my show, I'll take all of those wins I can get because that is how
yeah.
you become a great guest and allow someone to be a wonderful host. If I go to your hometown, what's your hometown, Grant? Where are you from?
I'm in London. I'm in London.
Okay, so if I say, hey, take me and show me your London. You're over the moon. You're like, yes, we're gonna go to this place. We're gonna go to King's Cross, and we're gonna do this, and you're gonna have a whole itinerary of things that you're desperate to show me. And the more of those kind of moments I can get with someone, the more powerful our connection will be. And that's just how
Did,
that. What are your
did
thoughts?
you said that phrase again? Just say it one more time, because you said something really interesting there. I want to pick up on. You said, "Show
Well,
me what? Show me what?"
show I don't know. Show me your town. Is that what you said?
You said, "Show me your London."
Oh, you're London. Yes,
Now
right.
that's
Yeah.
really great, because you didn't say, "Show me London," like
Mm-mm.
most people say. You said,
Yeah.
"Show me your London,"
Yeah.
like the parts of London that's important to me.
Right.
But that implies to me that you want to know how I experience London,
Yes.
and it shows that
Yes.
you have interest in me. It shows you want to get my take. Like someone says, "This is my favorite movie." A friend of mine, actually in our field, they had their favorite movie, and they had to fly back to the country, and they said, "It's playing tonight in London. Go and watch it." And I watched their movie, so I wanted to see the world through their lens. And when I told them that I watched their movie, they were so happy that I watched their movie, not the movie, but their movie. Now, no, they didn't make it; they didn't star in it, but
Mhm.
it's how they identify themselves through this movie. Now, If you say to someone like that, not to show me the town, show me your London, your Copenhagen, your Denmark, your New York, your wherever. If you show me that it's experiencing it through their eyes, it shows an increased interest in that person, an increased value of that person. That will create connection. Rapport will build automatically without any of those fancy tricks that we've all read in books, which are overly complicated. Because one of the easiest ways I've ever been taught to build rapport, and I know some people hate that word, but let's just use the word for a moment, is not to use all those fancy tricks. The simplest way, because there's enough things to remember, is just to be totally and utterly fascinated by the other person in front of you. Because when you are, all the rest of those rapport building body language tricks fall into place naturally. Yeah? When you're thinking it's like your best friend and this is networking. If you really want to help that person, because what goes around comes around, we spoke about this, you help that person now, they might be able to help you immediately. They may be able to help you in 6 months. It may be 3 years, or maybe that person never, ever will be able to help you.
Right.
But they will introduce you to somebody else and they will help you.
Right.
So some of the best people in networking aren't necessarily the person who provide the solution to you, but they are the connector.
Yeah.
And without that connector, without that conduit, that thing never comes off. And if you go out there thinking how you can help people, that builds rapport faster than anything. You know, people will be leaning forward, they'll be more enthusiastic, their face will lighten up, their coloration of the skin will change, their body gestures will naturally start mirroring and matching. All this stuff, you don't have to think about it consciously. If you are just fascinated by this person and really want to know, how does this person tick? How do they see the world? How can I make their life better? How can I leave them with that win today to brighten their life up? How can I make that positive affect in their life?
I love it.
Yeah, you got it. If you could do that in life, people will want to be around you. They want to invite you back. It will be great.
Yeah. And
life becomes great. And that is it, I think, in essence. I think we've hit the key points for networking here.
Bam. I love it. I love it. Tell everybody where they can find out more about you, and I'll put that link up here in the show.
Thank you. How people can find out more about me is by going to contactgrant.live. Contactgrant.live. All my socials are there. Connect with me however you want. And just say, and if you do, say you met me through the show.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, definitely. Everybody, listen, Grant is great. I've been waiting to have this conversation, and with the holidays and everything else, it took us longer, but won't be the last time we chat. I really appreciate you coming on. It's just because of this ridiculous show, my life is so enriched, and I encourage everybody, whether you do a podcast or something else, just do something where you get around people, because you're going to find out there's a whole lot more sweetness and wonderfulness when you meet real people, not people on this damn thing. Real people, and you are going to find out that people are wonderful. Even if you disagree, you're like, I totally disagree with so-and-so, but oh my God, I love that person. That's going to happen a lot more likely than when you are on your little idiot box thing and getting the worst out of humanity. So everybody go out and do these things. Anything in closing, Grant, before we wrap it up?
Okay, you want to know a quick closing quote or something like that?
Closing quote, or you want to ask me a question, wherever you want to do. It's your floor.
What I would challenge people to do is it's a great time of year to do it. People are looking ahead to the future, the next phase of their life, the next year. What do you really want to do? I don't mean, oh yeah, I'm going to do it. I mean, really, what do you really want to do for this year? Are you happy? What's the things you can level up in your life, in your relationships? And don't forget, relationship starts with your relationship with yourself. What about in your business or career? What about in your income? And income and wealth are different things. We can do this another time, but income and wealth is different, obviously. What do you want to do? What about your health and fitness? What about who you become? Because your business, your career, your relationships can never, ever grow further than the extent to which you've grown yourself as a person. So I'm talking about personal development. So if anyone thinks that stuff is hairy-fairy, let me tell you it isn't. That's the operating levers behind everything in this life. You can only grow to the level which you grow yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at that challenge ahead, that growth ahead, and you look at it, ask yourself this question. Am I at the level of being that kind of person that attracts the kind of things that I need to achieve? And quite often, if you're really pushing the bar, the answer to that question will be not quite. You might need to level up some things, and that's fine. If so, we're here to help you. Reach out if I can help you with that. Sometimes we need to tweak something. There are 2 degrees left, 2 degrees right. Those 2 degrees can make a huge change. Or sometimes you need to quit something big, do more of something or less of something else, or do it in a different way. Perhaps you need to reframe it. What are you giving back? Because let's use the word of richness. I can mean financial success, but I don't necessarily mean that. It could be spiritual, it could be health, it could be well-being, it could be your personality. Again, I mentioned that phrase of your cup is overflowing. What are you doing about charity? Giving back. This is what I coach people with. Now, if you aren't giving something back to a cause that's important to you, whatever that is, you should be. Now, if you're broke right now, just give $1 a month. Just do something. Just move the needle. For charities, it comes to money or time. Get specific with your goal set. I'm helping a lot of people with goal setting at this time of year. So what is it going to be? Is it going to be X amount of hours where you give your expertise? Is it going to be X amount of money? What's your goal for the next year? Now, your ultimate goal, 5 years, might be something different. But what is it for the next year? Once you've done that, you looked at your relationships, you looked at your business, you looked at your career, you looked at your income, you've looked at your wealth structures. Once you've done that, you then looked at health and fitness. You looked at income and wealth. You've looked at your personal development. What do you need? How do you need to develop yourself in the next year? Do you need to become more tolerant, better at emotional intelligence? Do you need to learn more conversational skills, better at communication? You need to learn a hard skill. What is it? How are you going to do that? You're giving back to community. And then after all of that, what are you doing all this for? What impact do you want to leave? What legacy is this about? And then, what do you do on your days off? Must you have 2 big family holidays a year? If so, where to, how long, who with? Get specific. If it's mini breaks, where you go? No good me saying to you, hey, you want to take a beach holiday? You may hate beaches. Maybe you want to go mountaineering. Whatever your perfect break holiday is, you need to do it. Even working on that one last aspect, I transformed someone's business just with that alone. And that became part of the criteria they had to follow each week, because it changed the way they did business. It changed it. And the sales went through the roof just from that one thing. So sometimes it's big things you need to change with people. Sometimes it's small things that make a huge difference. Remember, small hinges open big doors.
I love it.
And that's it. Look at those aspects in all areas of your life, and you will create the closest you can get to a balance, and life will become an absolute pleasure. And when you do that, it's easier to network with people, and what you put out comes back. That's it.
Grant Murrell, everybody. You can find him at contactgrant.live. I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much, everybody. Saw you soon, Grant. I'll say goodbye to you in a second. Bye-bye, everybody.